50 years is a long time. No one could have foreseen that Singapore would have done so well in the past half-century. No one dared to predict that this would be where we would find ourselves and bring ourselves after 50 years. But nobody can predict or would dare to predict what will happen in the next 50 years. An ideal scenario would be a world at peace, with globalization continuing apace, and with countries competing peacefully, though fiercely, and creating prosperity which will benefit all of them. I call it an ideal scenario, but even in this situation, Singapore will face many challenges, but we are confident that we can flourish. Play a global Asia role, be a springboard for Asian companies to the rest of the world, and be a base for the rest of the world to expand to Asia. We already are beginning to do this. Asian companies like Tata Communications and King D are internationalizing from Singapore, not from their home countries. MNCs, global companies, Procter & Gamble, Hewlett-Packard, Shell, they orchestrate and coordinate their operations across Asia from Singapore, or in some cases, aspects of their worldwide operations out of Singapore, covering Africa, covering South America, covering Australia and New Zealand, but Singapore is the center of that part of the business. And therefore, we stand in the middle and we help companies to understand Asia better. Thus, for example, EDB recently partnered the Nanyang Technological University to form the Institute on Asian Consumer Insight. Understand what drives Asian consumers. How do they behave? What are they likely to want next as the middle classes grow and the affluent groups also increase? But while we can contemplate this ideal scenario and prepare for it, we must also imagine less benign outcomes as well. Globalization can slow, or worse, it can go into reverse. Support for free trade can easily falter in the developed countries, and protectionism will grow. And other countries can turn inwards, preoccupied by domestic problems, and undercut the global economy on which Singapore fundamentally depends to make a living. There can be unforeseen shocks. There could be an energy crisis. You don't know when, but somewhere, sometime. You cannot imagine 50 years without something unexpected happening like that. There could be strategic rivalries and political upheavals, which could lead to more serious problems than that. There will well be natural disasters to cope with, and certainly we will, over 50 years, be seeing more and more the consequences of global warming. Storms, floods, droughts, famines, migrations, adjustments on a big scale by the global system. And with these less benign scenarios, we will be in a much more challenging environment. It will be harder for Singapore to earn a living, and we will have to work hard just to maintain our security and keep our people safe. But all the more important in such a situation, we will need to be united and to respond as one people. And all the more in this situation, we have no choice but to stay open and earn our living by servicing the world. Except perhaps in the most extreme situations when we fall back on ourselves, and we hope not for too long. The EDB and Singapore have to be ready for all possible scenarios. But what must we do? Well, the EDB must maintain its edge, build new links and deepen existing ones, find ways to boost our strengths and address our challenges, such as limits on our manpower, limits on our land and space, such as rising costs as we grow and develop. They must continue to seize opportunities and bring in projects and reinforce Singapore's position amidst the many choices that companies have in today's world. Most of all, they must have the lean and hungry instincts and a strategic sense at the top, and that passion and that anxiety to go out, to see opportunities where others see challenges, to knock on doors when others only see walls, and to bring home projects which didn't expect to come to Singapore but are happy to be here. Backing the Economic Development Board, we must have Singapore, the government and the people continuing to focus on economic development and upgrading. To adhere to policies that foster growth, no longer just through expansion, but by transforming and upgrading ourselves. To create a higher quality business environment better than what we have now and far superior to what other countries have to offer. And therefore enable the EDB to deliver to investors what it promises, and to Singapore the investments and the innovation that it needs to grow and to prosper. Over the last few months, and especially since our May general elections, investors have been asking us, what do political changes mean for Singapore? Will Singapore be changing direction? And my answer is, in the fundamentals which matter to investors, the answer is no. Society has changed, economies change, politics evolve. But in terms of the imperative to make a living for ourselves, to develop our economy, to grow and to prosper, that, as the Chinese say, that is a hard rationale which will be there for a long time to come. Our fundamental constraints remain, and we need to remain connected to the world in order to survive. And the government will continue to take a long-term and rational perspective. We will continue to make ourselves an international hub, open to global investments and talent, and we will maintain sound economic policies that promote growth and improve people's lives. I think the investors are reassured to hear this message because we take seriously what we say and what we commit to. But they will also wait to see what we actually do. And if over time they find that we have become not as welcome as before, or if our business environment becomes less favorable, then of course there will be consequences for Singapore as businesses move elsewhere or decide to expand elsewhere. But if we show consistency by our deeds, that we understand what's at stake, and the government continues to work effectively with all agencies operating coherently to deliver results, and the population continues to support consistent and rational policies which create jobs and prosperity for them, and Singapore keeps on improving the environment for global businesses to set up and operate here, then we will continue attracting our share of investments, our share of prosperity, and Singapore's position will be secure. I congratulate the EDB on its half-century of success. I need hardly tell you, you must not rest on your laurels. You continue to have an important role in our economic transformation. Never lose your pioneering spirit or your over-the-horizon perspective. And the government and Singapore will back you all the way. I wish you every success in the next half-century as you continue to work to create a better tomorrow for all of us. Thank you very much.